I made a couple of changes to the ammo can stove. I changed the legs out from steel. These are aluminum angle. And I put steel angle up here where you see these 3 bolts. There's 3 on the other side also. I put angled steel along the sides there to keep the sides from warping from the heat. I thought I'd try an experiment. I half filled the stove with wood pellets. I just lit it a few minutes ago, and I got a kettle of tap water. I'm in my backyard. I thought I'd see if pellets worked and how well. It's supposed to be no soot and very little residue. It's pretty cold out, 22 degrees outside. I've got a remote sensor outside on the stump. 34 degrees inside the teepee, but we'll see how well it does in heating it up. Also see how long a load of pellets lasts. Show you some changes I did to the stove also. You can see this row of 3 bolts along the side. There are 3 over here also. I bolted some of the 1-inch angle steel to the sides because on a previous stove the sides warped pretty badly and then the lid didn't fit well anymore. The legs I've switched out for aluminum angle just to save weight since I've got steel bolted to the sides up here. I've got the kettle on and you can see some of that expanded metal I fit to the top of the stove just to give me a better place, more even place to set my cook pots. I also removed the wood dowels as handles from the bolts here because they just turned to charcoal. I want to be sure and use a stick or gloves whenever I handle these bolts now to change the venting or to open the door. I can definitely feel the heat, and it feels good. It's come up 1 degree, 34, it's now 35, and the thermometer is down here on the floor, and of course heat rises, so it's going to be warmer up there. Looks like pretty good flames also. With 3-inch flue pipe, that's about 7.5 to 8 inches of surface area of air going out the flue, and it's trying to draw in the same volume of air through these holes. And since there's only about, in total, about 3 square inches, did I say feet? 7.5 square inches, only about 3 inches, square inches of area in these holes, so the air is going to go in when the door's shut. The air goes in at a pretty high velocity. Something's smoking. Whoa, that is getting red. I think I'm going to slow that down. The air going in so fast was overheating the stove. It was cherry red on top. Maybe I should have tried this without the teepee first. Up to 38 degrees in here. It's risen 4 degrees at the ground. Opening the door slowed down the flames. Not cherry red anymore. get my laser thermometer. About 150 at the base of the flue pipe. That's because it's in centigrade or Celsius. 400 at the top of the stove. $300. $450 to $500. That's about right. That'd be great for cooking, I think. See if I can speed it up a little bit. About 190 on the sides. Of course, when the door's open, it slows the air way down coming in so it doesn't burn as fast. Counterintuitively. If I wanted to slow that down, I would choke off the flue by turning the flue damper. And I think I might. It's a balancing act. I've used wood pellets in one of those wood gasifier type stoves, not one I made, but one I bought. And that works really well for cooking. Gets a little hot, but it'll last, puts out good heat though. See what it takes to get the water to boil. where the sides were about 180, they're almost 300 now. 550 for the bottom of the flue. 700 for the top of the stove. Slow that down again. Still 700. It'll take a bit to cool off. $500 and dropping at the base of the flue. Outside, the temperature has dropped a degree to 21. It's 44 degrees inside at the ground. Up at my face, it's about 90. I don't think I get a real good reading on a reflective surface like that. 400 degrees on the pot. I had the teepee in this stove, this ammo can stove, out a couple of weekends ago, and it was down about 15 degrees overnight. I didn't use pellets. I used found twigs and just local matter, stuff I could put in the stove. I had to cut it up pretty small. It's definitely a balancing act for airflow and feeding the fire. It certainly doesn't run on a load of wood overnight or anything. It only lasts about 30 minutes at most. So your sleep system needs to be capable of taking you down to whatever temperature it's going to be overnight, because the stove, unless you're up feeding it all night, isn't going to keep you warm all night. And of course, this teepee, being made from a tarp, it was covered in frost in the morning. It was 15 degrees overnight, and my perspiration and breath condensed on the inside walls of the tarp. And when I went to open the doors in the morning, I thought it was raining on me. It was that frost falling down. Once I lit up the stove and it warmed the teepee up, the frost dissipated. And I've got the vent, but it doesn't vent frost very well. It has to be in vapor. It's quite warm in here now. I don't want to get it up to 90 or anything. It's 46, 21 degrees outside still, 46 inside at the ground, so that's very pleasant. This is not a fast responding thermometer, so holding it up here, it's going to take minutes probably for it to catch up with whatever the temperature is higher. So I'll just leave it on the ground. Fire slowed way down. Temperature at the base of the flue is below 300 again. Top of the stove is about 360. The sides are 330. And these are all Fahrenheit, of course. Pellets. I'm pretty pleased with them. Got to be careful not to close the door and let the fire get out of control, but they last and they put out some good heat. You just have to be willing to carry pellets. carrying this teepee and this ammo can stove, though, I would only do it, I wouldn't put all this on my back, of course, but I use my Polk sled. I should have brought it out. I've got the Paris Expedition sled, and if I'm pulling everything in anyway, you may as well add a few pounds of pellets. Oh, time to heat it up. Well, there it goes. Well, it doesn't take long to take off. I've got the door cracked about 1/2 of an inch. Yeah, the sides were back up to 360. I had never used a large shelter like this before I made this teepee, and it really felt like luxury when I had it out in the woods, being able to change clothes, just to have room to move around and be enclosed and be able to get in out of the cold. One thing I would change about this teepee, I made it from an inexpensive tarp from Harbor Freight. I would instead have used a heavy-duty tarp. I can see a hole in this already, and I don't know where that came from because I haven't had any sparks or anything. It's a pinhole, but I can see through it. At the time I made it, I thought it was more important to have camo than to have a heavy-duty tarp, but I would definitely rather have a heavy-duty tarp. Oh, I see another hole. I want to boil water, so I'll keep it hot. It's getting there, almost. $500 at the base of the flue. Wow, $775, $780 on the sides. $750 to $800 on top. I wouldn't want to run that high heat all the time. I'm afraid it would make the ammo can not last very long. The more ventilation holes you've got to be able to open up on the ammo can stove, the better off you're going to be. Even with as many as I've got, I'm still having to open the door to regulate it, and I've got the flue damper closed down. I think we got a boil, so I'm going to slow the fire down. "21 outside, 48 inside." It is definitely more than I need this coat for. "49 at ground level." None of me is cold. My back is not cold. My front is warmer than my back, but I don't feel cold on my back. I think another choice I would make for this teepee would be canvas. It would be heavier, much heavier, but it would be breathable and more durable. I want it to burn as much of the pellets as it can. I'd like as little ash residue as possible. "470 on the side, 51 degrees inside at the ground." Well, maybe. I had it closer to the stove, I think, than before. But it was 51 there on my hat. I'm just watching to make sure it doesn't get cherry red again. I think I'm done with the pot, with the kettle. I don't really need the humidity added to. We'll make some hot tea later. "53 degrees inside, 21 out." I don't want to overheat the stove also because there's dry brush underneath of it, well, dry grass and some leaves. I should have cleared that out first. I think doing this next time I go on an overnight trip with it, I'm going to take some more of the fiberglass cloth to put underneath of it and in front. If you saw me making the teepee, the video where I made this, I used a solution of, what was it? Silicone, just tube silicone, high temp silicone in mineral spirits, dissolved in mineral spirits, brushed on the fiberglass cloth. I think I'll do that to have like a heat shield, a ground mat pad that's fire resistant underneath the stove. It was 2 weekends ago when I was out in the woods with this rig. I tried to do some video, but it was just terrible. It was dark. I didn't start filming till after dark, and it was too late. The tent light didn't give enough light for videoing. It's definitely shirt sleeve weather inside, and we're up to 54 degrees. We're still steaming. $550 on the top, 500 at the base of the flue, 750 on the side, If you saw the video where I made the ammo can stove, you saw the inner lid of this lid, the lid liner, I had detached from the lid and used that as the baffle along top. So the lid liner is about an inch below the lid. And where I bolted on the sides those two lengths of the angled steel, that lid, that baffle sits right on top of that angled steel. So it's really, the fire can't get up the sides. The heat has to come around the front and go across the top of the baffle and out the flue. Still at 54 and holding. It's kind of hot on my face. I did use it when I was in the woods, and it seemed to distribute the heat pretty well because heat rises and the tent fan kept blowing it down and circulating the air around the teepee. So it was more even. Without the tent fan, there are hot spots. My face is one of them. I did not even pay attention to the time when I started this. I won't know until I look at the video and check the start and stop time to see how long the pellets last. We're up to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. And the pellets look like a pile of ash. Red hot ash. When you're using an ammo can stove inside of a heated shelter like this, you run it when you need it, like before you go to bed. Use it to get out of your clothes, change into your dry, clean, long underwear, get into your adequate sleep system, and then let the fire go out. Or when you're cooking, first thing in the morning. Get the fire going, ideally from your sleeping bag. How great would that be to wake up, reach over, light a match, and let the pellets just start. And then 20-30 minutes later, get out of your sleep system. Whoa, back puffing. Not getting enough air through the front. It's pulling it down from the chimney. Pretty good smoke rings. If you've ever seen that back puffing, it's because the fire's just too choked off. It's going to get oxygen one way or another. Either it's going to be through vent holes like this, or it's going to pull it down through the flue. And when it pulls it down through the flue, you get back puffing. We're still steaming. And we're holding at 55 degrees Fahrenheit. And of course, a thin tarp like this, even canvas, not insulated, as soon as the heat stops on the stove, the cold starts coming in through the walls of this tarp. There's no insulation. All the snow's melted in a nice circle around the stove. I think we're about done. Not entirely out, but I'm going to call it. Guys, I don't know if you got anything out of this or not, but thanks for watching. Oh, there's the back puffing again. I guess it's not out. When when I was out in the woods, I had to use this center pole, and I couldn't find two long enough poles that were straight enough to use for the external bipod, but that would be even better, because then this pole wouldn't be right in the way. Well, there's some life in that fire yet. Well, let's heat the kettle up again then. I'll tell you, the best thing I like about pellets, well, several things actually, but one of the really great things is very little sparks going up the flue, if any. With twigs, found biomass, you're going to have sparks. Pellets are definitely going on my list of things to take. Yeah, we're down to 54. Still 21 outside, 54 inside. That could climb back up. 55 at the ground, it may be 80 or more up towards the top. I'll need a faster reacting thermometer than this one to take it up to the top and see quickly what the temperature change is. I'm using the laser thermometer on the black Gorilla tape around the flue, well, around the stove jack, and it's at 75. Yeah. The black Gorilla tape around that vent opening that I made, that also is 75, so 75 degrees up there at the top. Let me take it for you. Still on there? 75.5. It's black, so should be getting a good reading from it. .70 at the Gorilla tape around the vent opening. Oh, we're on fire again. About 700 on the sides. .560 at the base of the flue. .590 on the top of the stove. It's warm, not hot. I think next time I'm in the woods and take my stove and teepee, I'll do a bushcraft breakfast video on the ammo can stove. Get up there. Looks like I have plenty of heat for any kind of purpose that I want. I only did load it up about halfway. It wasn't full. I should have measured the amount of pellets in pounds. Like, I couldn't even guess. 1 pound, 2 pounds. Certainly no more than 2. We're down to 20 outside, 55 inside. $5.90 the base of the flue, $500 on top of the stove. $7.25 on the sides. I've got almost 4 in the afternoon. Has it been? I don't even know when I started this. But I'll tell you, this is way better than foraging for sticks, processing little sticks. I did, and 6 inches or so is about the max. You know, you don't want them the length of the stove, certainly. And then you want to split them. I was getting 2 to 3 inch stuff and cutting it with my silky saw and then splitting it with my machete into 4 to 6 pieces. The edges, the sharp edges of sticks of wood that you processed is what makes it catch light easier. If you leave them whole, round, there's no sharp edges on that to catch the flame. It'll still burn, it just takes longer. It's too bad that video didn't turn out a couple of weeks ago. I had a stack of firewood about 1 foot tall, a couple feet wide, and I used probably half of it. You know how it is, it warms you up 3 times. It warmed me up when I cut it and processed it. It warmed me up when I hauled it to the inside the teepee, and it warmed me up a 3rd time when I burned it. I guess pellets only warm me up once, but I'm okay with that. I'm gonna make sure it's still filming. Oh yeah. We're good. You know what I really miss when I'm out in the woods? A table, a flat surface. Something to set things on. Something to sit at and eat. And I know I could make one. This takes a little bit of attention, but not nearly as much as feeding wood into it constantly. And I've never had a pellet stove in a home. I bought pellets to try in that wood gasifier stove. It's a, I think mine is the Ohuhu, or some word like that. I only carried, like, I filled a quart Ziploc bag with pellets, and that lasted, because I was in a location where the owner of the property didn't want me having an open fire, and so I took pellets with me so I wouldn't also have to forage. So I ended up with a 40-pound bag of pellets and used about half a pound of them. So I thought I'd try pellets in here, and I'm pleased. This surface with the expanded metal fit over it it was a great place to cook. I took a fry pan, and I don't use cast iron. It's not much fun to carry, and it just, you can't cook as well on it as you can heavy duty aluminum. So I've got a non-stick aluminum pan that I always carry with me, and I think I'll do a bushcraft breakfast with bacon and eggs and toast. And the eggs will be, I think I like mine over medium, not over easy. This makes me want to get a pellet stove for my house. If this is how easy it is. "20 degrees outside." We're down to 53 on the inside though. But I've been letting it burn down. I'm going to have to really take a look at the stove. I'm going to have to examine it to see what damage all this heat has done to it. Yeah, the original one I made, I didn't put the steel angle in the sides, so the sides, when they got hot, they just warped. The top of the stove, the lid captures the front and back, so it can't expand this way, and that's what metal does when it heats up, it expands. It couldn't expand this way because the lid stopped it, so the sides had to bow in since they had expanded. And then I couldn't bow them back out and make them fit under the lid. So I got an entirely new ammo can and built a new. Of course, I've got about 6 ammo cans in various stages of completion for ammo can stoves. So I took one and did the angled steel, and that seems to work really well. Well, I have to see, because there's been a lot of heat here. The metal will have wanted to expand and warp, and I'll see what happened with it. I'd hate to go to this expense and trouble for a one-time use stove. $500 on the top, $600 base of the flue, $725 on the sides. And the door open about 1/4 of an inch seems to be a good compromise. See if you can hear this. That's a pretty good sound if you're a jet airplane. I was going to say, there's no fuel here in front. It's all gone. So where's the flame coming from? It's because it's burning and having to come all the way up to the front to where that stove baffle is underneath the lid, an inch down. It's coming up here and then going out the flue. So as soon as I shut the door a bit, you see that flame coming up. All the fuel's towards the back now. Man, this is going to be a long video of just me talking and you watching a stove. Are we done? I felt I owed it to you, though. I felt bad that the video didn't turn out 2 weeks ago from where I was actually out in the woods, so I wanted to do something. Can we call it? Nope, it's back up. I don't have a poker or a stick or anything to spread out the fuel back there, the pellets. Maybe that will add interest, me taking the kettle off and putting it back on. I don't see much else happening. Well, it wasn't my typical video showing you how to make something. How to make heat, I guess. Still, 20 degrees Fahrenheit outside, 53 inside. But it lasted a good long time, so I keep saying it, but I'm just tickled pink. I'm very happy with it. I don't know that we'll get flame out of it anymore. Down to 400 at the base of the flue. About 400 on top of the stove. $550 to $600 on the sides. I think that's about all the interest you can stand. So guys, like I say, this is not my typical video where I show you how to make something, but thanks for joining me on it and testing out the wood pellets. See you on the next one. Looking at the outside, it doesn't look bad. Discolored on this vent at the bottom. I saw some flame coming out of there once. An hour on wood pellets. I was pretty impressed with that. I've already emptied out the ash, and it was very little. The lid warped quite a bit. But it got cherry red. The sides looked like they wanted to warp, but they were held in place by the angled steel that I had bolted in on both sides. These angled steels would make it handy to put more of the expanded metal on top of here if I wanted to use this as a grill. I'm pretty pleased. I think it's going to be fine to use wood pellets in this on an overnighter. So that'll be the next thing you see of the ammo can stove and the hot tent is an overnighter, as long as the video turns out. Guys, thanks for watching.